Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Maybe not. Yes. Okay, great. I can't figure out how to be on this page and make my PowerPoint work, so I'm not going to be able to see your things. Shoot, this is very annoying. So I guess we're going to start here. So I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able. So how? Yes, so many online delivery systems that don't work the same. So I'm going to check back with the chat. I can't see the chat while I'm doing my PowerPoint, apparently. I can figure this out. So I don't know how it's going to work. But anyway, I hate teaching blind, but that's what I'm going to have to do. So today we're going to talk about how to use a romance to mess up all the other genres, basically to screw up your story in several different ways. This is the book that I got most of this information out of, The Key, How to Write Damn Good Fiction Using the Power of Myth by James Fry. He's excellent. Anything he writes is excellent, but this is a particularly interesting book. It's a good resource, especially if you're stuck, if you're written yourself into a corner or whatever. You can check out some of them. He talks about all the mythical characters that you can use in your book, and you could probably find one to help you out of whatever trouble you're in. But today we're going to be talking about 3 particular ones that are involved in romance. All forms of fiction are based on the hero's journey. This is the hero's journey. The hero ventures forth from the world of common day into a region of supernatural wonder. Fabulous forces are there encountered, and a decisive victory is won. The hero comes back from this mysterious adventure with the power to bestow boons on his fellow man. Now, this sounds a lot like fantasy, but it's actually all fiction is based on this. Even the nitty-gritty thriller, the hero goes into this strange new world, different from his everyday life. So this is what all fiction is based on. So for our purposes today, when I say the word hero, I mean your main protagonist, whoever that is, whether it's male or female or no gender at all or some robot or whatever. But when I say hero, that means your protagonist, just for the sake of argument. All right, so this is an interesting scientific fact. Science has discovered that readers of romance novels produce endorphins in the brain. Endorphins are chemically identical to morphine, an extremely addictive drug. Astonishing as it sounds, the romance reader becomes physically addicted to romances. I can believe that I was physically addicted to romances at one point in my life, and it was a wonderful period of my life, but basically reading a romance makes you feel good. And these little endorphins explode in your brain and you feel really, really happy. But why should romance writers have all the fun and romance writers get all the glory? So we can cash in on this by putting romance in other genres as well. And unless you're writing a romance, the romance doesn't even have to end happily. A hint. So I'm going to talk more about that in a minute here. All right, so background. Let's talk about the hero. So we know who we're dealing with here and what their key traits are. They have courage, or we'll find it along his journey somewhere. The hero is clever and resourceful, has a special talent, could be crocheting, but they maybe need to crochet a rope to get to freedom or whatever. They have a special talent that they're going to use to help themselves. The hero is an outlaw living by his or her own rules, and that doesn't necessarily mean they are outside the law, but they have their own little code that they live by. They're good at what they do for a living. They take the lead. They have been wounded. They have some sort of painful event in their past. They're motivated by idealism and is sexually potent. They may also have these qualities: hubris, which is, of course, overweening pride; be stoical, be loyal, physically superior in some way, maybe they're a superhero; have a special birth or destiny; be branded in some way, and that could be physically or mentally; cynical and mouthy. We all love that mouthy hero, don't we? And they're sexually appealing. So you should be taking advantage of your hero's sexually appeal. Okay. You should be taking advantage of your hero's sex appeal. You can use a romance in your book to make your hero more appealing to readers. If they're sexy, you're going to appeal to readers. Dimension to the plot and really screw up your hero's quest, or reward your hero with a life mate. Or if you can do both of these last two, screw up the quest and provide them with a life mate that screwed up their quest, then wow, you really have a winner. That's the most fun of all. So there are several possible, when you're creating a romantic interest for your hero, we've got lots of possible choices here, and that book, The Key, has many others, but these are the three main ones that they're most important ones, and the ones we're going to talk about today. Possible romantic or sexual partners for the hero: the hero's lover, the god with clay feet, or the evil one, which is also known as the villain. They sound enticing, don't they? So let's take a look at each one, and then we'll figure out how we can look at how they can complicate the plot. All right, the genuine romance is the hero's true lover. The person, of course, will stand in the way of the hero's goal. This person is not a helpmate. They are not going to be helpful, because how boring would it be if Adam and Eve, how boring would the story of Adam and Eve be if Eve never ate the apple? Even if these lovers even the true lover must cause problems for the hero. This person is going to be the total opposite of the hero because, of course, opposites attract. The great line from Jerry Maguire, "You complete me." True lovers join their strengths together. And the differences between them will create conflict. Conflict is, of course, as you well know, essential to the plot. Conflict is interesting. They will have qualities that attract. The hero's lover will have qualities that attract. The true lover is going to be appealing no matter what else happens, in spite of everything else. The hero's true lover has heroic qualities. The true lover will be just as strong and good as the hero, but probably in different ways. Think about Katniss and Peeta. They both had completely different strengths and talents, but together they made an outstanding foe. You see, they will see the heroic qualities in each other. They recognize that even though they're different, the other has important talents or strength that will help the hero triumph. So, if this is not a romance, the hero's lover can die or be separated, so that you don't have to have a happy ending, even if the person is the hero's true love. Think about poor James Bond. Every time he gets married, his wife dies. Steven Seagal, same thing. So just because the person is the hero's true love doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a happy ending. Here are some examples of the hero's lover. Romancing the Stone, when we have You have you have all in all these examples, even though it doesn't even seem possible at the very beginning of the journey, these people fall in love and live happily ever after. In Romancing the Stone, Joan Wilder is the mousy romance novelist, and she receives a treasure map in the mail from her recently murdered brother-in-law. She travels to Colombia to exchange the map for her kidnapped sister, and she meets the soldier of fortune, Jack Colton, who agrees to bring her back to civilization. They hate each other on sight, but in the end, they realize they're perfect for each other. Pretty Woman, you have the billionaire, the flawed billionaire, and Vivian Ward, the hooker with a heart of gold. Doesn't seem very likely they'll get together. Pride and Prejudice, Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy. They seem destined to be enemies for the whole book, but of course that doesn't happen. Avatar, Jake Scully is a paraplegic soldier, and Neytiri is the native of Nevi. In Shrek, you have a green monster and a beautiful princess. The African Queen, you have Chari Alnut, who's this rough and ready riverboat captain, and Rose Sayer, who's a minister's, prim and proper minister's sister. In Star Wars, you have Han and Leia. Wasn't that delicious watching them finally admit that they were in love? Beauty and the Beast, classic example. Overboard, where the heiress Joanna Staten screws over the guy who does carpentry work for her, so he takes his revenge on her. Aladdin, you don't get much more opposite than Aladdin, the street boy, and Princess Jasmine. And of course, every romantic comedy ever made in every Disney movie, you have the hero's true lover. So, before you find the handsome prince, you have to kiss a lot of frogs. And this guy is the frog. He's the disappointment, the god with clay feet. Because of course, not every romance ends happily. He's the one who seems to be perfect in the beginning, but when the going gets tough, this guy hightails it. He seems godlike in his power at first. He's probably smart, good at his job, holds a position of power, and people look up to him. He's almost always male, because it would be politically incorrect to write about a woman who falls apart when the going gets tough. He seems supreme and wise, but he turns out to be lacking. When he should have his back, he's sneaking out the back. Yeah. Sometimes he's the evil one, but we're going to use the evil one as well, so keep this guy separate from the evil one. The female hero will fall in love with him, and this is the worst case because she gives her heart to someone who's unworthy. We all know people like this in real life. So, often serves as the hero's mentor, which makes the disappointment even worse because the disappointment increases exponentially with how close the relationship is. So if the person is your mentor and your lover, that adds to the horror. So these are some examples of the god with clay feet. Frozen is a really good one with Anna and Hans. They seem perfect together, but he's just trying to get power. The Legend of King Arthur, man, that's a double whammy because Guinevere and Lancelot both prove unworthy of Arthur's love. Jane Eyre, Mr. Rochester proves unworthy of Jane's love. Somebody wrote a new mystery series featured based on the Jane Eyre characters, and after Jane and Mr. Rochester get married, and they become detectives solving mysteries later in life. And I told someone about that, and that person said, "Oh, Rochester, that son of a bitch." She's still mad at him. So yeah, he was really a jerk. Bridesmaids is a perfect example of this. Anne finds out that the handsome Ted is a jerk, and and realizes that the goofy roads is really her own true love. Gone with the Wind, how frustrating is it that Scarlett just is determined to be in love with Ashley Wilkes, even after he proves time and again that he's not worthy of that. The Great Gatsby, Jay Gatsby's in love with Daisy Buchanan, and he spends his entire life making himself rich enough to deserve her, and she then finds out that she's not worthy at all. Wuthering Heights, Heathcliff is in love with Catherine Earnshaw, but she betrays him time and time again. Anna Karenina, which is such a heartbreaking story. Anna makes such a foolish decision to leave her family for Count Vronsky, and he chooses to dump her later. Sense and Sensibility, Marianne learns that Willoughby is not the man she thought. She ends up married to Colonel Brandon. And From Here to Eternity, Karen Holmes thinks she's found the love of her life in Sergeant Warden, but he proves to be unworthy of that love. I'm going to stop here for a minute and check, so I can check back and see anybody got, are we doing okay? All right, I don't see any comments. Everybody must be doing okay. All right. And finally, number 3 is the total disaster, the evil one. And the evil one is, of course, the villain. There's nothing worse than discovering that the one you love is not only unworthy, but actually evil. What fun that the hero's love turns out to be the villain of the piece. To make them evenly matched, the hero shares some characteristics with the evil one. Hubris, overweening pride. Of course, we expect that from the villain. Maybe an outlaw. He's clever and resourceful. He may be wounded, probably is. He may have special talent and may have great sex appeal, which would be why the hero is attractive. And of course, if the hero is a female, the readers always love the bad boy, so it's easy to make the reader fall for this person in the beginning. Qualities that the evil one has qualities that they do not share with the hero. However, the evil one is different in other ways. Motivated by greed, avarice, lust, vanity, etc. Unworthy motivators, in other words. They're not idealistic. They're often cruel. They may win by luck. The hero never wins by luck. They always have to earn their victories. They're not forgiving. They might quit, but only at the very end. They may whine and grovel. They may not be stoical, may not be loyal. And usually they're not physically superior, although they may have a sidekick that is. Think of all those Bond heroes that are these wimpy guys, but they have this big, strong sidekick that takes care of people for them. And they have no special birth or destiny. So here's some examples of the evil one. The Maltese Falcon, which we just read in our mystery rig, is Sam Spade and Bridget O'Shaughnessy. He spends the whole book trying to find the person who killed his partner. It turns out to be his lover, Bridget O'Shaughnessy. Body Heat, if you haven't seen that movie, it's an old one. Rent it. It's really beautifully done. Maddie Walker turns out to be the most astonishing villain you've probably encountered. At one point she says, "You're not very bright. I like that in a man." And she's not kidding. She's not kidding. Casino Royale, James Bond and Vesper. He thinks that they're in love, and it turns out she's betrayed him completely. Not only him, but his country and everyone else. Double Indemnity is another old book and movie. Walter Neff is an insurance salesman, and he gets seduced by Phyllis Dietrichson into killing her husband. Mind Tryst, which is a novel by Robin Carr. It's a really old novel, but it's in she's reprinted it, so it's available. And it's really unique because it's plotted like a category romance, except that it really goes off the rails. It's a beautifully constructed book. You should probably find it if you are interested in this kind of thing. Presumed innocent, Rusty Savage finds out that his wife is the one who killed his mistress and framed him for it. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Dr. Elsa Schneider turns out to be a Nazi spy. Gone Girl, which is another instant classic book. Nick and Amy Dunn's marriage isn't as wonderful as you might think. So those are some examples in the book. So now I'm going to read a book to you, The Paper Bag Princess. And it's a delightful book in and of itself, but it also will illustrate how you can, I'm going to use it as an exercise. So I'm going to read you this book, and then we're going to look and we're going to discuss how we could end this book if the hero's love interest is either the true love, God with clay feet, or the evil one. So we'll do that in the chat when we get to there. But first of all, I have to read the book to you, which means I have to change my screen share here. Oh dear, how do I do that? There it is. There it is. Okay. So, Paper Bag Princess. Elizabeth was a beautiful princess. She lived in a castle and had expensive princess clothes. She was going to marry a prince named Ronald. Unfortunately, a dragon smashed her castle, burned all her clothes with his fiery breath, and carried off Prince Ronald. Elizabeth decided to chase the dragon and get Ronald back. She looked everywhere for something to wear, but the only thing she could find that was not burnt was a paper bag. So she put on the paper bag and followed the dragon. He was easy to follow because he left a trail of burnt forests and horses' bones. Finally, Elizabeth came to a cave with a large door that had a huge knocker on it. She took hold of the knocker and banged on the door. The dragon stuck his nose out of the door and said, "Well, a princess. I love to eat princesses, but I have already eaten a whole castle today. I am very busy, dragon. Come back tomorrow." He slammed the door so fast that Elizabeth almost got her nose caught. Elizabeth grabbed the knocker and banged on the door again. The dragon stuck his nose out of the door and said, "Go away. I love to eat princesses, but I have already eaten a whole castle today. I am very busy, dragon. Come back tomorrow." "Wait," shouted Elizabeth. "Is it true that you are the smartest and fiercest dragon in the whole world?" "Yes," said the dragon. "Is it true," said Elizabeth, "that you can burn up 10 forests with your fiery breath?" "Oh, yes," said the dragon, and he took a huge, deep breath and breathed out so much fire that he burnt up 50 forests. "Fantastic," said Elizabeth, And the dragon took another huge breath and breathed out so much fire that he burned up 100 forests. Magnificent, said Elizabeth. And the dragon took another huge breath. But this time, nothing came out. The dragon didn't even have enough fire left to cook a meatball. Elizabeth said, "Dragon, is it true that you can fly around the world in just 10 seconds? Why, yes, said the dragon, and jumped up and flew all the way around the world in just 10 seconds. He was very tired when he got back, but Elizabeth shouted, "Fantastic! Do it again!" Sorry. So the dragon jumped up and flew around the whole world in just 20 seconds. When he got back, he was too tired to talk, and he lay down and went straight to sleep. Elizabeth whispered very softly, "Hey, dragon." The dragon didn't move at all. She lifted up the dragon's ear and put her head right inside. She shouted as loud as she could, "Hey, dragon!" The dragon was so tired he didn't even move. Elizabeth walked right over to the dragon. This is intentionally blank, so don't worry. Elizabeth walked over to the dragon and opened the door to the cave. There was Prince Ronald. He looked at her and said, "Okay, now I'm going to ask you to tell me." I love using this book in class. I love using this book in class too, Kathy. All right, so let's think about this for a minute. If Elizabeth, I need to share a screen again. All right, sorry. Okay. All right. All right, so if Elizabeth is the hero, she will possess these characteristics. Does she have courage? I think she proves she has courage. I mean, she went after a dragon all by herself, dressed in nothing but a paper bag. Is she clever and resourceful? I think she proved that when she got the dragon to use all of his fire and all of his strength and wear himself out so he would be essentially not a threat to her anymore. Does she have a special talent? I don't think we know enough about her to know if she has a special talent, but I think maybe she's clever and resourceful. That might be her special talent. Is she an outlaw living by his or her own rules? She is now. She's sort of on her own and trying to make things up as she goes along. She's good at what she does for a living. She was a princess. I imagine she was probably pretty good at that. And she's proving that she's got leadership qualities. She takes the lead here. She has been wounded. She's lost everything she owns. And she's motivated by idealism. I think she wants to save the boy that she loves. Is she sexually potent? Well, she must be. I think we have to assume that she's going to get married, so we'll take that as a given. All right. So, sorry. So let's look at Ronald. Ronald is, if Ronald is the hero's lover, he will stand in the way of the hero's goal, not be a helpmate, will be the total opposite of the hero. I think he's standing in the way of the hero's goal, which is she's at this point by being a prisoner. It's not really his fault, but he'll be the total opposite of the hero. He really hasn't done much to save himself, so I think we can assume he's maybe not as much of a leader as Elizabeth is. The differences create conflict. The conflict, of course, is he's allowed himself to be carried off. He has qualities that attract. I think he's very handsome and charming and probably has many princely qualities. Has heroic qualities? We really don't know that much about him, but I think it's possible to assume that he does. And they see heroic qualities in each other. Elizabeth apparently sees heroic qualities in Ronald. Okay, now I'm going to ask you. No, I think I'm trying to remember how I do this. Okay. All right. So if he's the hero's lover, if he's the god with clay feet, he will seem godlike in his power, but maybe not really be. He's almost always male. Of course, Ronald's a male. He seems supreme and wise, but he turns out to be lacking. Sometimes he's the evil one. And the female hero falls in love with him. Elizabeth is certainly in love with him. And he often serves as the hero's mentor. Well, not in this case, but okay. And if he's the evil one, he will have hubris. I'm sure Ronald is very proud. He's a prince, after all. He may be an outlaw, clever and resourceful, maybe wounded. He's certainly wounded by being taken off by a dragon. May have a special talent, and he may have great sex appeal. I think if Elizabeth likes him, we can assume he has sex appeal. So, all right. Let's take a look at this. Okay. If Ronald is the hero's true love, his Elizabeth's true lover, and this is the happily ever after ending, when she opens the door to free Ronald, what will he say to her? What are some of the things? So type them out in your chat there. When she shows up, what will Ronald say to her? There are no wrong answers. Can you turn on your microphones and talk? What took you so? Oh, okay. These are good. We're finally coming. You've arrived. I've been keeping the dragon busy so he wouldn't kill you. I love you. That's a very good one, Danielle. What took you so long? That would show a little different attitude, that he expected her to rescue him. So that sort of shows he has respect for her. And anything else? Okay. What will he say if he is the god with clay feet? Ah, you look beautiful even in a paper bag. Good one, Danielle. Can you turn on your microphones and talk? Which would be so much more fun. Okay. God with clay. I hate to tell you this. I made a deal with the dragon to let me go for you. Oh, that's great. Come on, Danielle and Michelle are not the only ones with good ideas. Ah. Hi, Danielle. Long
Hi, Vicki. Good to see you.
Yeah, you can just turn yourself on if you want. I don't even need to approve you. Kathy, hi.
Kathy. I haven't answered because I've read the book quite a few times. Use it in my fairy tale and gender expectations class.
Well, I can't wait to go buy it. It's cute. It's really charming.
It's a great book for kids. It really is. So what else would he say? I hate to tell you this, but I made a deal with the dragon to let me go for you.
So is that more the clay versus a villain? Because I had a thought for the villain.
Okay, hold that thought.
Yeah. So, but does this kind of like he?
How about I prefer a richer princess.
Yes. Yeah. Now I've changed my mind because you're penniless now.
Oh yeah.
That would show how shallow he is. He would be a big disappointment. What else might he say?
So
are you the only ones in the class? Are there?
I think there's someone, John Lawson's the organizer.
Susan's here.
Oh, I see the people. Okay. It is a very small class, just us. Okay.
And I know that if someone uses their phone, sometimes they cannot get on the list of people.
Mm-hmm. I needed to work on my phone earlier, so
yeah,
that's great. So is this everybody?
I think Susan is in here too. If I click on people, it says Susan Jessen's in the room as well, but she might not be able to join with the video and audio.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm getting very nervous because I'm just about done. It's only 2:36. So
you can always
have questions.
That's okay.
All right. So what will he say if he is the evil one?
Actually, the dragon and I have decided to take over the world.
That's a good one. What did you have, Danielle?
Just that he was the mastermind, that he would say, my whatever, that he is the one that constructed this whole plan.
Right.
So that she.
What did you do to my dragon?
That's it. Somebody always says that one. What did you do to my dragon? That would be a big shocker. So, of course, on the very last page, what he really says is, let's see. Oops. Share my screen and show you here.
Nice,
Susan. Susan just said, "Gotcha, princess. I need to feed my dragon."
Nice.
That's really good. Yeah,
it's good. Okay. This is so annoying.
This is a really difficult, whatever this is called, to navigate.
It's happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is.
I haven't tried it yet. My session's next hour, so I haven't actually tried to log into that part of it yet.
Okay, so what he actually says is, there was Prince Ronald. He looked at her and said, "Elizabeth, you are a mess. You smell like ashes. Your hair is all tangled, and you're wearing a dirty old paper bag. Come back when you are dressed like a real princess."
Oh my gosh, he's horrible.
He is horrible.
He's horrible. Is it the kid's picture book?
So what she says is, "Ronald," said Elizabeth, "your clothes are really pretty and your hair is very neat. You look like a real prince, but you are a bum. They didn't get married after all."
Yay. Good for her.
Yup.
Yes, good for her indeed.
Oh my gosh.
And so that would be an example of both clay feet and villain. I don't know what is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I think probably the God with clay feet, because he wasn't behind it. But
Bum kind of sums it up.
yeah, bum kind of sums it up. He's a bum.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
questions. I
So
can't believe how fast I went through this. I'm always afraid it's going to be too long.
Yeah, that's fine.
so I had a question, you
Sure.
know, because I've loved your books. And as you're developing your characters, you know, there are love interests in there, obviously the main two, but in the Gaslight series,
Right.
did you like look at a character and say, how do I give them clay feet? Or was it after you had written a few books, you realized, I am doing this already? Do you kind of know what I'm asking?
No.
Well, I was.
Are you asking me, did I plan it out? Is that what you're asking me?
Yes, I think so.
That's the answer is no. Oh my God, no. It was I made such a huge mistake with that. Because in the beginning they gave me a 3-book contract and I was so excited. I thought I have a 3-book series. Never occurred to me that it would go on for 25 books. Never in a million years. Why would it? I mean, series just don't go on that long. And I thought maybe if I'm really lucky, it'll be 6 books. And my original plan was that they would get married in the end of the last book because it wouldn't be that long. And then all the problems that would ensue because they got married I wouldn't have to deal with them because it would happen after the series was over. Because if she married an Irish Catholic policeman, she would never be allowed to move in society again. She could never go to the homes of rich people or anything like that. And he would actually never do that to her. He would never marry her to bring her down socially that far. So that was an insurmountable problem I had created for myself. And it just kept going on and on. And until actually it was when I was in the program, I decided to get the degree myself. And we were taking Nicole's class on how to, marketing. Essentially, it's the marketing class. And I said, oh, I know, I'll have a contest and ask my readers to come up with ideas for how I could get Frank and Sarah together. I was about 15 books into the series at that point. And I said, and the prize will be, I'll name a character in the book after them. So,
So clever.
and so one of my fellow students, David Wilbanks, sent me a private email. He says, I accept your challenge. And he sent me a list of 20 ideas for getting them together. And I thought, I was quite skeptical because David writes science fiction. He had never read anything I had written, ever. He knew nothing about this series except that Frank and Sarah couldn't get together.
And he's a man.
And he's a man, yes. So, of course, I was very contemptuous of his ideas. And I'm reading down the list and thinking, no, that's stupid. No. Wait a minute.
Wow.
It was one of his ideas was that he said Frank inherits money from a rich relative he never knew he had. Well, I had thought of that before, but he's Irish. He's never had any rich relatives. There's no way. And but the book I was writing at that very moment, this is like kismet. The book I was writing at that very moment, there was a rich person in there who had a really, really good reason to leave Frank a whole bunch of money.
Because he wouldn't leave it to Sarah because she was a woman.
I had to leave it to a man. So it's like, so I named that, the guy that leaves the money is named David Wilbanks in the book.
Cool.
Yes.
That's amazing.
And I just heard from him on Facebook the other day. He posted something funny, and I was remembering our class, and I reminded David that he'd helped me with that idea, and he said he's still reading my series. His mom, he was like in Turkey or somewhere when this was going on. After he graduated, he was in Turkey by the time the book actually came out. So his mother had bought all my books up to that point and shipped them over to him so he could read the whole
Wow, how
story.
fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
And he said he's still reading them. And I said, I tell this story all the time about how I got this idea. But the moral of the story is plan ahead. So you'll notice in my second series, they get married, I think, in book 4. I mean, he proposes to her at the end of book 1, and then they have a fight and break up in book 2. In book 3, they are engaged, and in book 4, they get married. So it's pretty quick. And I didn't create insurmountable obstacles.
But you did the long, slow burn really, really well.
Oh,
Mhm.
thank you. Well, I
'Cause I
had
was
to
just like-
because we didn't know how to get them together. It was like impossible. It's
And
just
I love Maven Gino.
I mean, the way I explain, it's hard. You know, I kept getting letters from family. This is America. Anybody can marry anybody else, and that's true. But this would be as if Trump married the Muslim gardener. I mean, you just can't even imagine that happening. That would have been Frank and Sarah in those days. So there's just no way that they could have gotten together. Just too many. It was too bad. Don't do that to yourself. Be nice.
It was funny. We just finished watching. Kay Dacus was giving like the 7 beats of romance, and she was talking. If you make insurmountable problems, then maybe you should rethink how you got here.
Yes, exactly. Do not do that. Don't create. I mean, conflict is interesting, but insurmountable stuff, not so much.
Right.
I mean, it should seem insurmountable, but it shouldn't be insurmountable.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it would have completely changed, her ability, like you said, to go in anywhere and do any good works.
Yeah.
So.
And her family would have died. I mean, but by the time he inherits the money, her father has a. But
and then I love you involving them in the mystery.
Yes.
Especially her mother.
Yeah, they were so interesting. They didn't exist in my original proposal. So, any more questions?
Oh, go ahead.
That guy in the second book was a god with clay feet. The one she went to Coney Island with, I feel like, is kind of a textbook god with clay feet dude that turned into villain.
Yeah. He was the killer.
Mm-hmm.
He was a serial killer.
Yeah, at first he seemed like, okay. And then it's like, no, you're kind of skeezy. And then it was like, oh, actually.
He's very skeezy. Yeah, there was another guy who's rich, who was her parents introduced him to her, and he seemed fine, but he ends up dead. So
Yeah.
That's a lot of clay feet.
That's worse than clay feet. He actually was a guy with clay feet, but and then he ends up as a victim. So
yeah, well, I found this a really helpful one because I'm trying my hand at a shorter work and an art heist. And so one of her, it's a woman. And so knowing that they don't have to get together at the end was really important because I thought, did I end up with a romance? I hadn't really meant that. But now that I've introduced them in the beginning, but it doesn't have to because he's kind of a schmuck.
If it's not a romance novel, you don't have to have
No.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I hope you don't mind that I took some screenshots of your PowerPoint.
No.
It was for my personal use.
Also, if you paid for the full weekend registration, the videos will be available up until next Friday on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
So you can go back and look at notes and things.
Oh, okay. I just did today so I could see Victoria, but
Yeah, actually, I could send you the PowerPoint slides as a PDF if you want.
yeah, it was super helpful because I'm trying to do a little romantic subplot in this psychological thriller I'm writing, and as Victoria knows, and And all of a sudden having this idea that like it doesn't have to be wrapped up neatly at the end, but it could just be that she's had this kind of catharsis on her own, and maybe just it's a healthy person, but she's choosing herself, you know, in this, making it so it's kind of like that kind of thing, you know.
So does anybody else want them? I'll be happy to send them.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I do very much. Vicki, would it be helpful for you if you put your contact and then we contacted you? So, or
Yeah, you can.
asked her.
Yeah, because I don't know if you don't have your shoe emails anymore, I might not be able to find you. So.
Yeah, I
had
wouldn't
it
even
in
know. It's been 100
years.
years.
Yeah. It was unfortunate. I lost a lot of my notes when my logic board fried.
Aw.
Yeah, I'm already thinking about how I want to keep that email active. Feels like there's so much on there.
Yeah, I know it's possible, but I don't know if everybody.
I think you have to. I think they said that you just have to. You have to change the password at the prompts, and if you let it pass, it's gone.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think it might be something like that. Like you have to go to it.
Well, then mine is gone.
Mine is definitely gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I put that's my Seton Hill.
I just emailed you. I was like, I'm gonna do it now, otherwise I'm gonna forget it, because that's just how it is. And my panel's at 3, so I know I would forget by the end of that.
Yeah, they only give you 5 minutes to get in and get set up. It was like I was freaking out yesterday because I had no idea how it was going to work or anything. And they took pity on me and let me in an hour early so I could figure it out.
Well,
Donna's on the panel with me, so she can help.
Yeah, I really hate teaching without being able to see anybody.
At least, yeah. I'm so tired of the blank Zoom screens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Zoom isn't too bad because you can set it up so you can see the people, or at least some of the people.
Right.
Most of my students don't bother putting up a profile picture, and most of them just won't turn on their cameras.
Oh.
And my schools mostly consider it an equity issue. So
Yeah, but at
turning.
Seton Hill, most of the people do turn the cameras on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm at 2 community colleges and then a liberal arts college. So resources are very scattered across that spectrum.
So our college gave our student, not gave, but gave out laptops last year for people who needed them. And so I say, unless you have a reason to not have it, and I don't care if you have cats crawling on you or kids in the background, and most students and the ones who have a reason will just private message me and say, I have a reason. And I don't even ask what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they usually tell me, but, and so it's been real helpful, but our school handled most of the problem, got ahead of it. So,
yeah,
but not everybody. And if they have connections, a lot of times the student will be like driving from work and pull on the side of the road in their little cameras, I'm like, maybe we'll just,
Maybe not.
One of the students at residency was driving during residency. Like, it was insane. And then he was in a Wendy's at one point. And then and then at one point when the professor who was doing our module was very concerned that he was driving during the module. He then did a green screen, but you could see the seatbelt and it was across him and the Golden Gate Bridge was in the background. So I messaged the group and said, because I live in San Francisco part of the time, and I messaged the group and said, yeah, I always wear my seatbelt when I'm viewing the Golden Gate Bridge because I mean, it was so ridiculous. There was no way that you could possibly get anything out of those sessions while you're driving. He was
Really?
even driving when he was getting his story critiqued.
Oh my God.
Bless his
Yeah.
heart.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But he's still in the program.
Apparently survived.
And it's
I'm
not like-
multitasking.
and we don't tape those sessions either, so it's not like you can see them later.
No.
Oh, gosh.
Thank you guys. This was a lot of fun. I'm going to head out so I can
Good
log
luck
into
to
mine
you.
Good luck
as
to
I
you.
Thank
can.
you, Gloria.
Good to see you. Kathy was
Good
one of my
to see
mentees.
It was awesome.
I'm very lucky. Any words of wisdom I can get from her, I'll take them.
Yeah, she was. So, Vicki, do you go by? I thought I saw with an I at different publications.
Yeah.
When I write this little note, is it VICTKI?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. I thought through the years on Facebook. Thank you. I will let you go. I know you've got stuff to
Okay.
do.
All right.
I appreciate
Stop
it very
in.
much. Oh, yeah. Thanks for all your wisdom. It helped a lot. Thanks.
Oh,
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.